Or Egypt?
Egypt, you're right. Alexandria is in Egypt. Very good. It was very famous about 2,000 years ago because there are many people there. And normally when you think about Egypt, you think about African Americans, you think about black skin color. But in that city, there are many Greeks and many scholars. And what makes that city famous is this a library called the Library of Alexandria. Have you heard that?
Yes. Yes.
Right. So they basically is kind of have the collection of all the books in Mediterranean region. So Euclides have access to many books. So he actually wrote this, and it's basically is to compile everything people have known so far about geometry, and that has to deal with a very important important question is, how do we know something is true? How do we prove something is true? And especially now become very important is that we hear different things from different perspectives, and we hear from different opinions. And they all say their opinions are true, but how do we know that? Especially when you grow up, like for me, I grew up in China, and back during the Cultural Revolution. So the government lied to you, the media lied to you. I mean, it's full of lies. So how do you know something is true? So that's become actually a very important human endeavor. That's what make us humans quite different from other animals, is that we are capable of thinking because God has provided us the capacity for our brains to do amazing things, to do abstract thinking. So how do we know something is true? And this is what the contributions of the ancient Greeks to humanity is, that they provide a way to do that. So basically is, we have to start with something we know are true. That's our starting point, or something we agreed are true. Everybody accepting that, or at least most people accept that as a truth. That's our starting point. And then there are two ways of reasoning. Reasoning basically is the process for us to know what is true. So one is something called deductive reasoning, and one is called inductive reasoning. Okay, do you remember that? What is deductive reasoning? What is inductive reasoning?
I don't remember.
Okay, just something like you come to your mind. Doesn't matter. I mean, wrong answer is still a good answer. Okay, just whatever comes to your mind, because that's how we learn things. Is we speak our mind. If it's wrong, we know it's wrong. If it's right, we know we got it. Okay. Deductive reasoning versus inductive reasoning. And inductive reasoning is something we do pretty much daily. So I'm going to give you an example. We'll put here sunrise. Now, you see sunrise yesterday, right?
Yes.
Maybe. And you see sunrise today. Good?
Yes.
Those are the facts. Those are something we know. We call facts, because it doesn't matter what each other's opinion. I mean, it doesn't matter if you are an atheist or a Christian or liberal or conservative. We can all agree on that. Sunrise yesterday. I mean, sun rose yesterday and sun rose this morning. Therefore, we came up with a conclusion. What would be our conclusion?
The sun will rise tomorrow.
Sun will rise tomorrow. And we can expand that to be more general, we know sun will rise day after tomorrow, right?
Yes.
The day after tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Then we came up with a conclusion that the sun will rise no matter what.
Yeah.
Every day, sun will rise every day. Good.
Yep.
That's as comprehensive as we can go. So this kind of reasoning is called inductive reasoning. Is that we did our observation, we came up with a conclusion. Good.
Yep.
Okay. So that's called inductive reasoning, and we do that every day, right?
Yep.
Can you think? Can you think of example? You do that kind of daily example. Something you came up. You made a conclusion or you made a judgment. Maybe someone was mean to you a couple of days ago, and he was mean to you yesterday. And what conclusion you will get?
He's a mean person.
He's a mean person. Okay, good. That's inductive reasoning. Can you think of anything else?
I'm breathing right now. I breathed yesterday, so there's probably air.
Yeah. So we can pretty much assume you'll breathe tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. That's what the inductive reasoning is. But there is a problem with it. Can you think about why is that? Or why there is a problem?
It's making an assumption about the future with
what we know.
Yeah.
Very good. And we are assuming things will happen always, right? And that may not be a good assumption. Okay, so I'm giving next example is okay, inductive reasoning. And this is what people think: the Earth is flat. I mean, there are some hills and all that, but generally in the ancient days, people think the Earth is flat. Especially people live in inland, like in China. People just think, okay, it is flat. I mean, if you go to the east, you'll get to the end of the Earth. Doesn't matter which way you go, you get to the end of the Earth. Good.
Yep.
Yep.
And why we came up with that conclusion and why people believe that for centuries is that they used the inductive reasoning. So first of all, now you're sitting in a room and your floor is flat, right?
Yep.
How about your neighborhood?
Yeah.
So if you're going to drive to Chicago, what do you see? Have you ever drove to Chicago on I-65?
Yes.
So what do you see? Do you see flat?
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty much right.
Yeah.
That's what you see when you go up to Chicago. Is everywhere is flat. I mean,
Yeah.
now you came up with a conclusion: the Earth is flat. Now, I mean, this is perfectly logical, right?
Yeah.
But we know the conclusion is wrong. Why is that?
Because the Earth is round.
Well, that's the conclusion, but what's the evidence you have that?
People went up into space and saw it.
Well, let's see. Actually, the Greeks actually understood the Earth was round more than 2,000 years ago. How did they know that? Have you ever been to an ocean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the water.
If you see the horizon, what do you see? Do you see flat? Or ever you notice there is a curve in the horizon?
I don't pay attention that well.
Next time, pay attention when you go see the ocean. Yeah. But what convinced them is when you see a boat came up from the horizon, you first, you go into the tip of the mask. You don't see the whole boat.
Yeah.
And then you're going to see more of the ship, and eventually you see the whole ship. Now, what kind of conclusion can you come up to explain that? Because
Earth is curved.
the Earth is curved, so Earth is round, right?
Yeah.
So that's the problem with inductive reasoning, is that there is always some new data come in which will defeat our conclusion. Good?
Yep.
Okay. So, and but this is what we know. So that's where we need to be careful, because like we said, if someone was mean to us yesterday and was mean to us a few days ago, we conclude that person is a mean person. Is that, I mean, it's a logic conclusion. Is that true or not true?
I'd say it's probably not true. They could have just had 2 bad days in a row.
That could be, exactly. I mean, do you guys have siblings?
Yes.
And then have they ever been mean to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, do you think they are a mean person?
Yeah.
Well, they probably think the same thing about you, right? Well, but you see the problem with that kind of reasoning. But that's what we do. Okay, we don't have to learn that. I mean, that's our daily experience. We use this inductive reasoning, but we know there is a problem. But that's what most sciences does, because they really has a limited data points. We just don't have the all data. Like you said, that person could have bad days during those 2 occasions. Maybe most time he was nice. It's just like maybe a couple of days in the future he did some nice thing to you that changed your your conclusion about him. Same thing about science. Science is always wrong. Okay, like you know, the physics. In the past, physics believe that the time has no ending, has no beginning, and that's something changed. Do you know what makes that change?
I don't.
No.
Have you heard of Big Bang theory?
Yes.
So Big Bang theory basically says our universe has a beginning, and therefore our universe has an end. So that changed how the scientists are looking at the world. And that's is for most sciences, that's the nature of that. They will never know for sure, but they always need new data point. That's why we do observations, right? We need to check the theories. We need to do experiment. It's trying to poke holes into this kind of reason. It's really because it's due to the limitation. We just don't have all the data. If we don't have all the data, the best we can do is to use inductive reasoning. Good?
Yep.
Because, for example, go back to the person was mean. After a couple of incidents, you probably just want to stay away from him, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even though he might be a good person, but most likely, likely he could be a mean person, right?
Yeah.
That's because we don't have all the data. Okay, if we actually grew up with that guy, then we know we have a better idea. But in our daily life, it's because we don't have all the data points, so we can make that. That's most time that's the best we can do. I mean, it's better than no reasoning, right?
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
it's better than like, oh, this guy was mean to you a couple of days ago than mean to you yesterday, and you still believe he's a nice guy. That is not logical, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Even though we know we could be wrong conclusion. So that's where we always give some benefit of doubt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So that come down to our next reasoning is deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning is used primarily in math. The reason we can do in math is it's a lot easier to get all the facts, a lot easier to get all the data points. So deductive reasoning is the opposite, okay? Inductive reasoning is you make some observations, you see some individual examples or some experiment, it came up with a general conclusion. Good?
Yep.
Deductive reasoning is you have a general belief, then based on the general belief, you came up with something logical. You came up with some logical conclusion. Or based on our general belief, we came up with a prediction of the future. Good?
Yep.
So, okay, so Columbus is discovering America is a good example of that. So what is the general belief he has? Something not shared for everyone, but he was convinced.
The earth is round.
The earth is round. Therefore, he can reach India going the opposite way. Okay? Do you guys know the history of that? Why he actually wants to go to India going the wrong way, opposite way?
To prove the earth is round?
No, he was not there to prove earth is round.
Oh,
You
to
want-
find a better trader to the Spice Islands or whatever?
Yes, spice trade. Spice trade is very, very lucrative. Because spices are very expensive in Europe, but very cheap in India. So he's trying to get to India, but they couldn't go in the shortest route. I think it was because I forgot which country was in control. Is Holland was control that route, but somebody already there. So the Spain, if you go for the Emperor of Spain to get spice, they can go to that short route. So they actually thought that's the end of the story. They will never get there. But Columbus showed up. He actually was Italian. He showed up. He said, based on my belief that Earth is round, that we can get to India going the opposite way. And of course, he drastically underestimated the distance. But that made his proposal more likable, okay, more doable. So he got money from the queen, the Spanish queen. So basically the Spanish queen financed his adventure, and he actually sailed towards India. But did he find India?
No.
No, he never got to India. Where he got is America. But he thought he actually reached India. That's why we have people now, Native Americans are still called Indians, right? Which is an unfortunate name because that was not true at all. But history sometimes is kind of like that, is not all neat. So that's a good example for using this deductive reason, is that you based on something you believe is true, you came up with a large conclusion. Good?
Yep.
Okay, I'll give you another example of that is now I will say okay, Rock, I'll say you are alive.
I am?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why is that? Okay. First of all, I believe that every person who is breathing is alive. Are you okay with that conclusion?
Yeah.
That can general belief, not conclusion, general belief. Every person who breathes is alive. We're good on that. Now, and Rock is a person.
Yeah.
We're good on that, right? He looked like you kind of funny. So because every person who breathes is alive, and rock is a person, and the rock breathe. You breathe, right? I can see it.
Yeah.
So therefore, you are alive. Good.
Mm-hmm.
So now you see that deductive reasoning is from general to specific, right? In a general to particular. For the Columbus, he said, from the Earth is round to that he can find India, right? Earth is round is a general statement. Then finding India is more specific. Good.
Yeah. Yep.
So those are two types of reasoning. One is the inductive, which from specific to general, and one is a deductive reasoning from general to specific. Good.
Yep.
And but people rarely use this is because we don't know how. We need to learn. Okay, and that's why we actually learning geometry, and also for math in general, geometry in particular. And why we learn geometry, especially in terms of classical education, is that we learn this. We learn deductive reasoning. We are really, our goal is not really to learn all the theorems and learn everything about geometry, because you most likely you are not going to use any of them. I mean, I haven't using, maybe I used a couple of theorems in my life as an engineer, but I definitely don't use all of them, and maybe probably less than 10%. But why do we need to learn them? We learn them is to use this as exercise so that we can learn deductive reasoning. Good?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why we learn actually the math in general. I mean, algebra has a lot of daily use. You'll find that very useful. Geometry is not as much, but why we learn geometry is just for that reason. The reason, if we never learned deductive reasoning when we go through the whole course on geometry, then I failed you, and also that means you haven't you will have not learned anything from geometry. Good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even if you can tell me everything about the theorems, you can remember all the theorem, but you have not learned how to use deductive reasoning, then that's not helpful at all. Good.
Yep.
Okay. So here's the exercise for you. Okay. Kind of homework. Think about two examples of deductive reasoning that you have used, or you can think about today to come up with two deductive reasoning. Is there something you have done in the past, or is something came up? Okay.
Okay. Yep.
So that can help you to learn deductive reasoning. Very good. Okay, I'll see you next week.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.